Hello and welcome to another BuildASoil YouTube episode. Today we've got season 1, episode 3 of the 4x4 battle tents. And so we're doing a side-by-side. If you haven't seen the previous episodes, you should totally check it out. But to bring you up to speed, we've got two 4x4 grow tents. I've got them closed right now because it's super bright when I open it and you can't even really see me. So I figured I'd start it here, then we'll open the tents and we'll show you exactly what's going on. A couple things I wanted to talk about. So in here, we've got the Cypress 6 grow light. Over here, we've got the Grandmaster Tent Ultimate, and there's some differences and we'll explain those. The Grandmaster is the most even all the way across this entire 4x4 tent. It's the only grow light made specifically for a 4x4 tent grower instead of just a fixture to hang in a big warehouse. However, the Cypress is the only one that has the added emerald green along with all the other features. And I like them both. We're not seeing a tremendous difference yet. What we're most interested in is the difference during flowering. So we'll be discussing that as we go. But let's jump in there. On the outside, you're gonna see some stuff. And I felt like we should talk about it before we open and show you what the plants look like. Partly because I'm hoping that you watch until we show you the plants. But also because this is a free tip that I'm about to share with you that solves a problem for me. If you're a brand new grower, you may be wondering about the environment. And if you're in Colorado or somewhere dry, a lot of times keeping the humidity up is really difficult. And so what happens is we finally get a humidifier and we see that vegetative speed of growth dramatically increase in speed. And the health of the plant just looks so much healthier. And we're like, okay, this humidity thing is pretty good. But then if you exhaust your tent too much, it takes the humidity out, so you've got to learn to balance. And these new controllers, man, they make it so easy. And so I'll share our recipe with you and how we do it. I've got the parameters to set it up, but the bucket is here because we added extra humidity water. The first thing that happens, and I'll show you, is that you start to get the humidity right, and now you're like a slave to filling up your little humidifier several times per day. If you're lucky and you have a really big humidifier, maybe it's once per day or once every couple of days, but it can be frustrating. And depending on the position in your grow room, it can be awkward to carry the water to it. And in my life, I've noticed things that have a lot of friction. They're not good for a daily routine because I'm likely to do something else. And we're taking care of plants. It's like taking care of children. We need them to be very consistent. And so consistency is important. I want to show you this thing that we learned. It's called auto top off, and aquariums use it. We've got 2 devices that we're testing right now, and we found the winner, and we're going to be bringing them in and making like a package you can buy. But for right now, if you're a DIY person, it's so simple. You can do this yourself. You don't need BuildASoil. We just try and make it a little bit easier. But you can go to Amazon and you can buy. Let me grab the box. I'll show you. This is the one I like the best. It's called Mag Tool Aquarium Auto Top Off. And we want you to get the one with the solenoid, not the pump. And I'll explain really quickly. They make an auto top off that when your humidifier gets low, it'll turn a pump on. I don't want the pump to get dirty or to wear out. So I use a solenoid. If these are new words, I'm just gonna show you. It's a lot more straightforward. I think it'll make tons of sense as soon as I show you. So let me set my coffee down. This is so much easier. I'm leaving town for 2 weeks, and the BuildASoil way allows us to grow the best quality without any compromise, but we use it in a busy lifestyle, like a system that allows for that. And so one of these things that make it easy when I leave is now the crew, while I'm gone, they'll just have to fill up this 5-gallon bucket with reverse osmosis water and make sure this stays full. As long as this stays full, both humidifiers in each tent will stay full. And so back here, you may not be able to see with the camera, but I'm gonna try and show you back here. I've got 2 solenoid valves, and a solenoid is like a sprinkler valve. I've got the line here you can see goes to a T, one to the right, and this will open and close the water line depending on the laser level that's in my humidifier I'm about to show you. This one will do the same. This is the brand that we prefer, and there's a couple reasons I'll explain why. So let's open the tent and I'll show you. Now, any humidifier that you have that is a top fill, this will work. You can come and you can see, sorry, it's pretty bright. If you look around here in the humidifier, I'm about to drill a hole in, but I wanted to show you, you don't need to drill any holes. The way that this works is it's got a laser here and it's got a magnet on the back side. So all I have to do is undo the magnet and I can move this anywhere I want without any holes. And then this is the tube for my 5-gallon bucket. You can just set it right in here and that's fine. But while I'm gone, I don't want this to jump out and be on the floor. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drill a very small hole right here, nowhere that's gonna cause a problem as far as the longevity of the humidifier. And then I will put the tube through there and it'll stay in there the whole time. But now this will stay at the level. And there's on this side, it says max level. And that's where I magneted the laser level. So it keeps it full at all times. And it'll keep this little tiny humidifier, keeping this grow tent at peak VPD, at high humidity at all times. And then the other way we deal with that is, since it's a small humidifier, we're only exhausting the air 1 time per hour for 5 minutes. That brings in fresh air. And the way that we're bringing in fresh air, we run both tents at the same time, and it's bringing it through this filter box from AC Infinity. You can see we've got these devices that are plugged in. That's for the humidifier top off. The one on the right here, it takes a timer to activate because it's for an aquarium. The one on the left, it's just always accurate, keeps the water perfect. So that's why we recommend that brand. It's the best one. But that's a filter box. So we're just filtering the air as it comes in this dirty warehouse. It kind of helps keep any of the dust and dog hair out. Now, I've got the tent door open, so it's not like it's hermetically sealed or anything. It's just filtering some of the dirt out of the air when the exhaust fans are running. But that's something I want to share with you because auto top off, you can go buy that device on Amazon, get a little bit of that like 1/4-inch tubing, and look it's firing, I think, over there right now. And it just keeps it full. And now if your environment is dialed and you have a simple routine that you're likely to keep instead of be frustrated by, that means your environment will always be good and your plants will always be happy consistently, and you're gonna get that speed of growth that you're looking for. You can hear the beeping. That is the auto top off running. It turned on the 15-minute timer. That's that side. And then it noticed it was full and it's turning off right now. So it works very, very well. This one doesn't beep and it works better. So in any case, if you look at the plants, you might be wondering why they look so funny. If you've never seen this before, you may not know what's happening. If you're a pro, you can immediately tell me what's happening here. And so if you've never seen this before, this is what they call reveg. And so what happened was when we cloned these plants, we put them in little cups of soil and we were transitioning. I had plants in flower, so I had no veg room set up and I was waiting to set these tents up. So what we did is as soon as I transplanted the clones, I put the happy clones in soil in the back office, and the goal was to leave the light on. Someone turned the light off over the weekend. They were in darkness. That triggered them hormonally to change into flower. And so because of that, I noticed immediately I saw new flower growth on the clones and I was like, ah, shit, they're gonna re-veg. And re-veg outdoors can be like a major problem if you've never seen it, because some of them don't come out of it because there's less hours outside and they're gonna try and flower and get really funky, and it can mess up the outdoor season. But indoors, it's not that big of an issue. It's just you need to know what's happening. And so what happens when you see a re-veg or when you know it's gone to flower, it may not be immediately noticeable, but the plant, no matter what, to turn around from its reproductive hormones into its now vegetative hormones and to kind of go back, it needs to change. And to do that, you're gonna see this visible change where it's growing these weird duck leaves, these weird shaped ones, and then it goes down to single leaves. And after it gets to the single leaf, it blows right back out of that and it goes into healthy veg growth. And so we're seeing the peak of re-veg right now. And then we're gonna see all of that. You see a lot of funny twisting growth as it's kind of changing. Those are the leaves flopping out. That's totally normal for re-veg. And then they're going to spin out of that and they're gonna throw really happy leaves. One of the byproducts of changing the hormones like that, as long as we know it's happening, we're gonna let it fully go back to veg before we flip to flower. We don't wanna mess with the hormones. If I were to flip now, I think I'd be confusing the hell out of those girls. So we're gonna let them fully come back. Then we're gonna flip to flower, but we've got some more training to do. And so if you look at this right here in the last video, I pinched almost to the bottom. And for 2 or 3 days, these tops would not stand up. And this triggered a lot more bushiness, but the tops have fully stood back up and we don't want that to keep occurring. The other thing is when they're going through these hormonal changes, they sometimes act a little weird nutritionally. They're not running at full speed. They're not vegging as fast while they're changing hormonally. They're still growing very well, but we haven't refilled yet. So looking down here, I can see the reflection of water, and we filled these up and recorded episode 2 when we did that to teach you how to do it. I want to say 6 days ago. And so the first time you fill that reservoir, it takes like a week or so before you're gonna fill it again. Let me show you what it looks like under here. It's moist all the way to the top, and you can see little bits of growth from the craft blend. And this is the mulch layer that we're creating here, and the roots are gonna start to be in here. So eventually, as we get deeper in flower, I'll be able to unzip this and you'll see white furry roots in here eating the food while the water roots are gonna be down below. And it's a really powerful phenomena. Earth boxes just do so well. And by the way, New Moon Grows, if you're watching, I love these covers so much. Really changed the game and made the earth box feel like a professional tool instead of like this really chintzy cover. Okay, so we've got to keep this top. See how it's so much higher? I need to keep it bent so this bush keeps happening. The key is you want this to be lower than the others. That makes the hormone distribution happen. So I'm not going to go as low as we did last time. You can see the knuckle that was created from the last pinch. Really fat knuckle there, and now it's healed and it's got a pathway for nutrient flow here. And I'm going to go up to about here, keeping this down lower after I pinch. I'm going to pinch all the sides very carefully. Sometimes if you're pinching hard, you can slip and snap the plant. I know that this GMO though is pretty resilient, so I'm going to go ahead. Okay, I'm just gently pinching. So now this is lower. These are going to continue to get the auxin hormone, and they're going to grow and grow, and this will stand right back up and it'll make it more even. This won't grow so fast now. These will grow faster. The other thing I'm looking for over the next 2 weeks is to fully get out of this re-veg cycle that's happening and have nice 5 and 7 leaves going, and then we'll fill this entire canopy and then we'll flip to flower. I don't like to veg for longer than a month. But with 2 plants going through a re-veg cycle, we're gonna just do whatever it takes to mostly fill up the canopy in here. The number one thing we're looking to avoid with GMO, and if you're a new grower, is too much vertical height. If I veg for too long and I don't do this bending and I never put a screen up, and I get them nice, a good size, and then I flip to flower, they're gonna hit the light almost immediately. And these GMO, they're going to triple. So from here, they're gonna be here, which means I really need to restrict the vertical height and keep them flat before I flip to flower. So enough talk, let me just get this next one done. We'll open up the next tent and show you what they look like. They look very similar as far as the light goes for the battle of the lights. And that's what I expect, right? We're just in veg right now. I will say on the green side, these ones perked up a little bit faster from the pinching that happened. And I was kind of like, wow, that's very interesting. However, they look very similar. There's no like, it's not like one tent is double the size or anything crazy from the grow light. One of the things I've noticed about these LED companies is that sometimes when you're choosing a light and you're just splitting hairs between, it's not like one's gonna double your yield. It's more like, well, after a year, one's gonna be half burnt out and the other one's gonna be going like a tank. And so both these brands I really trust from a quality perspective. But I gotta say, I'm super excited to see, does the green do anything? Or is that perfect evenness in the Grandmaster side gonna dominate as far as yield when the canopy gets more full? Right now, there's 2 plants in the middle, so the evenness doesn't matter quite as much, but it's going to when we get into flower. And these are both perked up. I will say on this side, I notice a little bit more like the leaf is slightly wind burned or nutrient issue right here. And that's what I talked about, is sometimes when it's going through a re-veg, the nutrients are a little bit funky. It's a little hormonal and it's not perfect. And so I wouldn't take that as a sign as long as all the new growth has a nice green color. But we are getting back to a single leaf, 3 leaves over here, single leaf, and then now back to 3. So it is fully growing out of its re-veg. Looks like we have single leaf, and then now 3s, so it's possible this one's a little bit faster out of its cycle. If both do get 5 levers and 7 levers first over here, we'll discuss that. Maybe the color of the light changed some of the hormones slightly differently, but similar height, similar look, both re-vegging, the probe's at a similar height. We both have similar amounts of water on all the sides. So generally right now, the side-by-side is going really well. You can see the same knuckle from the bending that happened on all the plants, okay? We're here. So now we're just gonna keep this whole thing going and make sure they stay bushy, so let's do it. I don't know, the other side might have a little bit more bush going on as far as the evenness of the lower branches versus the top on these maybe stood up faster, and maybe that's what happened. So for instance, if these did stand up faster, that would have altered the hormones to these quicker, which means these wouldn't have got as tall. So we'll monitor that as we go. Let me pinch here now. Again, I'm pinching all sides so that I don't create like a break. I just want to bend. That's it. Looks great. I'm gonna raise this up so it's out of the leaf. You can see the sensors like right here in the leaf. It's pretty good, but I just want it to be similar across all of them. So both tents, there we go. So I'm gonna be leaving, and my main thing that I'm gonna be worried about is communicating to the crew, hey, as soon as that gets dry, check first thing in the morning. Once it's dry, fill it full. It keeps the side-by-side perfectly accurate, and then we're gonna track, is one tent taking more fill-ups than the other, or are they always needing water on the same day? That's a good indicator. 2.5 gallons, so it's only gonna be, if all 4 need water, it's gonna be 10 gallons at one go, and that's it. And then it's maybe another week until they need water again. Now, once they get bigger, during peak stretch, it could be that you're actually filling these up every single day. And so to keep up with that from an automated fashion, some of our customers have come up with ways to automate the earth box, but that's where growers get into like the tray to grow, big beds of soil and other things. For a couple weeks of stretch, it's really not a big deal to put a little bit of water down the tube, and it's mostly automated, and it's the simplest way we have to duplicatively produce top shelf every single time, even on your first grow. So if you're using earth boxes and you're seeing all these other cool systems, these are supercharged. They have really good power for what they are. And even for seasoned growers, and when they use these, they're very, very impressed. So don't take it for granted. These are some of the best systems on the market, these earth boxes. So they don't need water. I did the bending. Everything's set up the same. So I mentioned on the outside, this one has some green. You can kind of see here. So if you haven't seen the other 2 episodes, you can see the strips of green lights in there. It's a little bit different, but you can see it doesn't go all the way to the edges, and it doesn't come all the way to the front. And so the idea is there that obviously these bars, you know, it's light over here, but when you test it with a par meter, it's a little bit lower on the edges versus the center, where over here in the Grandmaster, it's all the way to the front and all the way to the sides. And on the sides, there's more LED diodes. And on the front and back, there's 2 strips instead of 1 strip. And so that makes it even all the way around. And I gotta say, they do look really good in here. So we're just gonna keep watching both sides. And the whole point of this is we're not running 1,000 plants like some college dissertation with all these statistics. We're looking for outliers. We're looking for something that really makes a difference in your life as a home grower. And we also wanna grow some good GMO. So we're having fun no matter what. And we're just gonna observe and share differences that we see. One random thing that I wanted to share. These just came in today, so I had it sitting here. You may have seen me when I was talking about the humidifier. We're gonna be putting these in our grow packs, and we're also gonna be carrying these at BuildASoil. It's kind of a mundane product, but it's very important. When we're growing, we're dealing with electricity, and a lot of us may not be paying enough attention to the safety. And so, you know, a lot of us have pets and kids and other things, and it would be terrible if there was a small fire, let alone a devastating one. And so with the BuildASoil grow pack, what we're doing is we're avoiding those pitfalls by sharing with you what we've learned. And so we've got waterproof power strips. We offer these as well at buildasoil.com. And these are waterproof, they're a lot safer. And so for inside the tent, we recommend something like this because if you foliar spray it or if it gets water on it, it's really safe. Plus it has USB ports and USB-C. It helps us run our USB fans. These are all plugged in over there. I really like them. But to get the power from 2 of these strips, which are 16 gauge, into the wall, a lot of people are gonna use an extension cord. And what I don't want people to do is just use like last year's Christmas extension cord that may have a kink in it somewhere and may not be the right level of power, and then run 2 power strips with like a grow light and a heater or 2 grow lights back into it. It's too much. And what I mean by that is, if you don't know what you don't know, you might read on your breaker and say, oh, 20 amps. And maybe you look it up, and maybe you find out, okay, I've got 15 amps plugged in, I'm good. But 15 amps running 24 hours a day is very different than 15 amps run for a few minutes. So we went to an American company in the United States that makes really good power cords. And so we got a 12 gauge rubber molded 3-head in a straight configuration so that you can strap it somewhere or you can mount it or just dangle it outside your tent. And then you can run your waterproof power strips to this. Our power strips have a 45-degree angle, so you can fit 3 of them on here. But now we're running all these different things back to this to get to our wall, and we have a very, very thick Very capable, very safe extension cord. No lights on it, so I really like this. This is where we're gonna be pairing together for safety for all of our customers. If you have a grow tent at home and you've been growing for a while, go check your connections if you haven't done so. Maybe we can save somebody today who just sees this, never thought of checking. If you've used the same shitty power strip for a long time, an old extension cord, they might be melting together and you might see indication of heat around it from running too many hours per day, too near the peak numbers. We want to avoid that, and so it would benefit you to get something like this. We did some research. It was really hard to find a 12 footer in 12 gauge with 3 plugs without a light in it and all the stuff. So we made one, and we're going to keep these in stock, and I think it'll help save some people's lives, save their grows. And we've also got the waterproof proof power strips, and we're including these in all of our bundles. So we're going back to the bundle, and in the next week or so, these will be added in, all of the bundles. And we don't have to do that. Most people have extension cords, but I feel like when they're brand new and they don't know what they don't know, if you're getting an entire kit from us, we want to make sure there's some electrical safety considerations and that we talk about these things in the community together. I can't tell you how many times you heard horror stories because back in the day, you have to have like your friend who's not really an electrician do your shit because you don't want to have a real electrician at your grow because it's illegal. I mean, dude, in my workshop, I had regular 120 plugs. I had the guy just come switch them to 240 so I could use regular plugs on my lights that took 240 without buying the plugs, and I would just write caution 240 on the wall. And I blew a T5 out from forgetting, all baked and plugging it in. Just so to get the job done, we've done some stupid stuff. But that doesn't mean we need to keep doing that. And I think it's important if we're teaching somebody to grow, we teach them about the important shit. So that one's there. Growing environment. We're gonna do a deeper dive on setting this up, but just so you know, you can go to BuildASoil under education, print out our environmental guide, and on here it displays some of the verbiage that we use so you understand what it is. Some stuff about airflow, but it also just gives you like a guide, a recipe. So right now we're in veg, 18 hours of lights on, 6 hours of lights off. We're between 300 and 600 ppfd. We're actually at around 450 right here, okay, 18 hours a day. That puts me in a certain DLI. And we're within the range of veg, which is 20 to 40. That is described here if you don't know. Print it out, it explains what DLI is. We have lots of videos on it. It's a very helpful function. But you'll also notice that our VPD says 0.8. So what I did is I set a target in my controller for when lights are on to be VPD at 0.8, both tents. So as the temperature fluctuates, it fluctuates the humidity to match a 0.8 VPD, which at my current settings, we're seeing the temps around 82 to 85 degrees, which is perfect, it's what I want. And we're seeing the humidity around 75 to 80%, which is perfect, it's what I want. And with the auto top off, it's super easy to keep up with. So that grow guide's available. The auto top off is just free as far as advice right now. Go to Amazon, look for that brand. Again, if you're wondering, it is the Mag Tool auto top off, and you want the one with the solenoid, not with the pump. And then you can set it up just like I did from any size reservoir to keep your humidifier going. I even saw one person comment, my wife's gonna love that, and I was laughing because I know a lot of us work, and a lot of times it's like, hey, whoever's at home, can you feel the humidifier? My controller just sent me an update saying it's low. And you get the update on your phone from AC Infinity, and you're like, oh no, the humidifier's low. Not anymore with the auto top off. We talked about what reveg is, so you can look that up. All 4 plants look really beautiful. I'm happy with both grow lights right now. We've only filled the reservoir 1 time. That's all the effort we've put into the grow so far. Pinched each plant twice, watered once. That's it. It's that easy. It takes that little time commitment. I will say though, when I was hand watering and doing all these things, I learned a lot, but I was constantly only keeping up with today. And when I started planning out what would be important, the auto top off, I've got to leave town, the Earthbox reservoir is full, that's so easy to do. All of a sudden you invite this freedom into your life where you put a little bit of forethought into planning your grow, and now it's the best grow you've ever had instead of just keeping up with the minimum each day. Rushing to fill the humidifier, wondering if you watered right. You don't have to do any of that. Just follow our proven system, put the water down the tube. We got tips like the humidifier thing, and we're here to help you. And you just have no reason not to have full jars. So before I end it and leave today, I got this kilowatt device in. It just reads the number of watts. I wanted to take a moment to do that to keep the ppfd even, the big difference between the 2 lights. This one's a little bit more powerful. I have this on 70%. to get the numbers where I want them, I have that one on 80%. A little less wattage over there as far as the power. And so that's what gets me the even PPFD to keep the side-by-side accurate. But I kind of wanted to see how many watts they're running. So I'm going to find out right now. Let's see. The lights are going to go off, so you may not be able to see, but I'll give you a reading. So I'm going to plug my light into the kilowatt. And now I'm going to plug it in. All right, that's volts. Oh, you can put your rate in, everything, kilowatt hours. Okay, we're at 590 watts, right? 593 watts. 591 to 593. So that's watts. You can do volts, you can put your kilowatts hour, you can calculate the cost to run the appliance. These kilowatt tools are really cool. But when I'm running it on dim, it's hard to tell you how many watts exactly. And so if you're running one 15 amp breaker and you want 2 grow lights, and so you're not gonna run both at 100%, at what point does it become safe? And so knowing that we're at 80% on this light and we're at 593 watts, that's good to know. Okay, I'm gonna plug this back in so everything's good. Okay, now it's running on the timer here, and the AC Infinity is sending the signal here so it's the proper dim, it dims appropriately. One more update. Over here is all of these Cypress lights will now come with a daisy chainable switch, dimmer, and RJ port. So you can now connect multiple lights, connect it back to your AC Infinity. All the Cypress lights will come with this now. So that's what we're using, and that's how we're controlling it right there through the AC Infinity. Let's get back here and see how many watts we're running now. $531. Nope, 529, 530. 530. So very similar. Similar amount of wattage. This one's running a little bit less still and getting similar PPFD. Now, as the plants grow, it's not exact, right? And so part of the reason why is because there's not as much light on the edges right now. So since there's only plants in the center, I'm kind of not being wasteful, but we're talking a couple of watts. So, I mean, realistically, the side-by-side, I don't think is gonna turn into something exciting and observable until we get a full canopy in here and we're in flower. But I'm trying to share everything I can share to make sure that there's meaningful information for free that you can learn from coming out of these experiments that we do. So let me unplug this so I don't forget. That is pretty freaking cool. Humidifiers are full. Man, this is great. I'm getting ready to leave, and just seeing all this come together makes me feel very comfortable with leaving, knowing that the guys can just fill up the humidifier and check down the tube, and that's it. 2 weeks when I get back, we're gonna have them film a little bit while I'm gone. We'll do another thorough update and show you exactly what's happened since then. Next step will probably be putting the trellis net up. More than likely, we're gonna keep bending until I get back and then put the trellis net on. But if it gets out of control, I'm gonna instruct the guys to put the trellis net on, and then they'll just video it afterwards and we'll talk about it later. So keep watching. Again, if you like this stuff, subscribe, it really, really helps. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching these. And until next time, stay loyal to the soil, and I'll see you on the next BuildASoil video.